Your greetings, I have to say, Israel, Aotearoa, Ireland, New York, Oxford, welcome. Born in Belgium and still are. Becoming more and more rare sometimes to be where you were born. Santa Monica, California. Or did I miss Oregon? Now in North Carolina, Vermont, Abenaki territory now, UK, born in Mexico, lived 49 in the US, studied in Mexico, Ecuador now. All of our stories are etched in our locations, our wanderings around our Mother Earth. Polish mountains, Beskidi, your mother's lineage. Nice. Hi, Isabella. Anyone else wants to say more? Because we are going to start circling in a minute. So one more moment to write. And I will pass the candle to you, Yael. New Jersey.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to our wisdom keepers that will share with us their wisdom. We are having these monthly Wombs of Peace circles, Rechem Shel Shalom, Rachem Salam, where we are inspired by the womb and guided by the teachings of the womb and indigenous traditions. We're here in Alaska. I'm an Israeli. Israel is my motherland, and I'm married to a man in Alaska who is a native, traditional, indigenous messenger of his people, the Unangan people. And according to their tradition and their way of life and understanding, when women come together in true sisterhood, connect to the womb inside and around, then collectively we can consciously and ceremonially put that energy beyond ourselves so that great healing can begin, where a sacred container is then formed for something truly new to possibly be birthed into the world. And that is needed for humanity to have a future, they say. And so this is why we do these circles. And the most important thing is they are, according to the guidelines of traditional indigenous talking circles, in the sense that the circle does the talking. So we are not here to talk, but we are here to listen as the circle does the talking, which is why we are inviting specific wisdom keepers that hold the truth of true sisterhood, which is the initial thing that we need for that, and deep listening. And even when they speak, whether the words are coming from their mouth or their other self's mouth, they are listening. And we are all helping that and co-creating that deep listening as deep as the womb. And to help us do that, there are guidelines that were recognized and given to us by our elder here in Alaska, Rita Blumenstein, who has worked with many indigenous traditions and elders and found that it has different forms and different names, but it shared these very guidelines. And so the first thing is for the host to read those guidelines, even if everybody knows them by heart, just like when you come to a dinner at someone's place, even if you know where all the bowls and the forks are, the host will set the table. So the first thing is that the circle does the talking and we are doing the listening. We ask to listen with the innocence of a child hearing something for the very first time. Think about the first time you heard of a dragon or a dragonfly or a platypus. before you decide if it's true or not, just take in the story and let it reside in you. For this is a potluck of offerings. We are letting truth be laid out by truth. And even if something doesn't nourish you, please don't push it away, but allow it to just be there and go to the next thing or to the next sentence that may nourish you without pushing it away, for it might nourish someone else. We ask to listen and share with respect to self, other selves, time, and attention. We ask that we are all free of judgment, free of the need to argue or even plan a reply. We come here and ask you to come without agendas or titles or flags, without trying to advertise or advise. We ask that when we do share words, which is at the end, we always have time to be nourished from our community in the chat box. So we ask that there will be no cross talking when there are talking. We ask that the words will come through you and not from you or for you. Don't force things out. Everyone will be given a chance to share words, but you don't have to, or even if you do not speak, you will be heard. And if you do care to share, please do it when the words and moment are right. We ask to speak or to share your truth, not something that you borrowed from somewhere or that you heard someone else say and you haven't experienced. We are asking for our own truth with our own lived experiences to be the thing that this circle will be about. And so even the deer and the lion can share the same experience of the same chase and have opposing truths. Yet, as the womb teaches us, we can have those in one space. If we expand, that is the other thing we are asking to expand, even if something is uncomfortable. Like when we are pregnant and we have nausea and hunger at the same time, it's not comfortable, but if we allow it, then something truly new can begin to exist in us and possibly beyond. And the last thing is that if anyone has changes that they would like to make or suggest, then please do it now and we will reach a consensus for enough to contain everyone. And so if you have adjustments, please unmute and say it now. We will give a few seconds. Thank you. And Michelle, I see that Elder Anita has joined us. If you can, I think it says LZM, but if you can spotlight her as well. And Elder Iya, if you can take us in with the opening prayer, please.
Good afternoon from St. Croix Virgin Islands. The mother wanted to speak today. It feels like the mother is calling us to listen more deeply to the songs and the water of the womb. And we all may be now experiencing those different womb spaces within ourselves. And I was almost about to ignore it. It's a song. It's a Yemaya song. So I'm just going to be. And what I'm going to ask us to do is just set our feet on the floor and on the earth and allow yourself to sink into the earth. And imagine that you are sitting in that circle and you have joined the earth womb, and just listen to the water as it flows through your own womb. As I get this chant from Yemaya and a prayer from Oshun. These are two elemental spirits from the Yoruba peoples called Ifa practices. And I am the initiate mother of Yemaya. So here we go. Yeah, 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 oh. Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, 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 oh, me, ma, yeah, yeah, oh. So what I said, mother, 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 come here, listen to us now. Yeah, 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 oh. Yeah, 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 oh. Yeah, yeah, oh, oh, me. Yeah, 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 oh. Now I want you to sweeten that room with the sweet river waters. And imagine that it's a yellow energy around that womb space, nurturing energy of the sweet waters. Ia mi leodo, ia mi leodo, Bogbo share, Bogbo share, ia mi leodo. My mother's house is a river. My mother's house is sweet. My mother's house is a river. Oh, mother, all powerful mother. She protects women's in dangers. She protects her children. Sweet mother, my mother's house is a river. My mother's house is sweet. Oh, mother, we pray this day for the protection of our earth and our children. We thank you, mother. Ashe, 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 oh, and so it be.
Ashe, thank you, Elder. And Diana, can you help us connect with our womb?
Thank you, Elder Ia. Thank you, everyone, for gathering around. I'd like to invite us to kindle the flame as we always do. Our internal flame, our external flame. Inviting us to close our eyes and to breathe, to simply breathe. To fly in and out on the wings of breath. To place a hand on our heart and the hand on our womb, or both on our heart if that's how we were born without a womb this time around. Just listening to the pulse of the heart, the pulse of the womb. Elder Ia sang to us, our mother's house is a river. And all of our mother's houses are a womb. Calling in the womb of the mother that gave birth to you. As the river of life that brought you forth. The river of generations of wombs in your bloodline. Flowing since the beginning of time and will continue to flow beyond time. What is the time of the womb? The time of the womb is patience. The time of the womb is patience. The womb doesn't hurry anywhere. The womb is always on time. The womb is a pulse of the moon. Let's tune in to that pulse of our womb, of our heart, the beating that's within us and all around us and universally. Let's listen to it with our palms, with our being. Allowing ourselves to not hurry anywhere, to not be anxious to receive a message, to be in the next moment, to be in the knowing, but to be here, to be in patience, to be. The womb that allowed us to be born in this world is the womb we are allowing to be as our guide. And asking for the guidance of the womb in how to bring this being, this patience, this non-hurriedness from the pulse of the womb to the life that we lead on a daily basis. Inviting our womb as our guide in our life. And with her as guide, beginning to return into this consciousness where often we hurry, and trying to return this time in a different pace. Breath by breath, pulse by pulse, returning to the consciousness of the room around us, of the circle we are part of, the universe we are part of, embodying our seat in it, in this exact space and time we each sit in. Sensing our body, our breath, our feet on the ground, letting our toes wiggle and bring us more present. Sensing our palms, allowing them to move and shift where they want to be. Returning to this moment while we're still within ourselves. When we feel here, present, letting our eyes gently open. Welcome back.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for helping us connect to the womb inside us and around us. And we have asked our wisdom keepers today to look at what time is. Is it a thing? Is it a concept? Is it a construct? Is it an invention? who invented it, who creates it, all of this and more. Not only from thoughts, but also from different traditions, different cultures. And so the first one will be Kumu Sabra from Hawaii, joining us from the mountains. The internet is a bit shaky, so let's see what it does, and let's have you while we can. Kumu Sabra, if you can share.
Aloha mai kako. Greetings to each and every one of you around the world. I am up in the mountains of Kauai, and this is the first time that I have ever had internet access. I have a cabin up here. There's no electricity, so it's beautiful for nighttime to star watch, and it's very quiet, except for my friends who are fun-loving and very, very good fun people. But when you ask me what is time, time is precious. Time is fleeting. Spend it wisely and treasure your time. I share my cabin with 4 other friends, and so each one of us has a weekend a month or so. And when I come up, I like to bring my friends and my family. But my family, they're very busy on weekends, especially at their church. And when I come up here, I just love to rest and relax. I love to see the forest and the flowers. I love to make leis, similar to the one I'm wearing. I am up here preparing for my grandson. My oldest grandson is getting married this next week, next Friday, and I am doing this service. So I'm making leis for him and his bride and for the family to share my aloha with them. But I am just so happy to be able to connect with you by this means. In the past, we have never had internet up here so high in the mountains, and I'm amazed to even have one bar. And with no electricity, we rely on solar and a little bit of gas. And I just urge all of you, and I know that those of you who join us in this gathering are very well aware of how precious time is. As I approach my 80th trip around the sun, it becomes even more important to me to treasure every minute that I have left. Because who knows when that day will come, when we will move on to another world. So greetings to each and every one of you. I do want to share that this past week I was on the island of Oahu at the Festival of Pacific Arts and Culture in Honolulu. And we had thousands of people who flew in from islands and countries around the Pacific to share their music, dance, language, culture. It was a beautiful sharing. And I just can't express to you how excited I was to see all the different dances and to hear so many different stories and sharing the beauty of life and the treasures of culture and living. I wish you all the very best today and forever. Me ke aloha no. Much aloha to each and every one of you. Blessings to you. Aloha.
Mahalo, Elder. Thank you so much for sharing. Time is indeed precious. And moving on, I think Celine managed to join us. She also, sometimes the internet in Peru is not working with us. So Celine, can you share with us about time? Is it linear? Is it a concept? Is it something that we can waste or accelerate? Can we go back in time? Can we stop time? Please speak to this and more when we ask you, what is time?
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for being there, for gathering us, for supporting us, and for encouraging us. For me, it's very important to express how much empowered I feel since we are sharing with these wisdom keepers. I feel like I belong to something bigger than who I am, and this make me very brave, very courageous. Is what we need now. I will try to explain in my bad look what is the meaning of non-linear time in our conception in the Andean culture. In the Andean culture, the time is not linear. The time is it is in an spiral. So I will try to say what my grandmother teach me. As I will do my better, but it's complex also. Even in Spanish or Quechua, so the present is eternal. It's always present. It's always now and here. But you won't arrive into this eternal present if you are not carrying your past or the past of your culture. And when you finish your day or 1 hour, is again the past time. And if you honor the past time, the present will be very good. Will be good if we keep respecting what the past is. So that's why it becomes kind of an spiral. The spiral of time means that we have the opportunity always to remake a new day with a new perspective every second almost. So the idea of the future is not clear for the Quechuas. It's not clear. We just have the past to honor, and the present is constantly present, is constantly here, and we are here and now always. So for us, it's like living in the past is a kind of wrong way to stay in the present, because the present is eternal. Always will be the present. You cannot be in the past. You cannot be in the future. So the linearity of the Western conception of time really confuses us, and really we do not agree. We do not embrace the conception of the linear time. The Western culture consider this is the past, this is the present, and this is the future. Once you have passed the day of yesterday, you arrive into this day today, and then you will go to the future in a linear conception. So for us, it's always an spiral. It's like we are living the past with ourselves, with our tradition, honoring our ancestors in every single act or in every single word we provide. And this is reflected in our designing, in our meetings, in our foods, in our archaeological places, where you can find this spiral, resuming what the time means for us. And the value that gives to us this Quechua concept of the spirality of the time is you don't need to focus on the future. You just focus on what you are carrying from your ancestral genes and what are you doing now, honoring these ancestral lines. You have to honor your lineage, you have to honor your grandfathers, you have to honor your grandparents, you have to honor also your old cultures, the pieces of cultures you are made of. And the future is a concept that is not really clear. And this is very important nowadays because the next 21 of June, we will say is the new year here, is the big party, is the solstice. On the night of the 20th, we all reunited in community. We drink certain kind of plants all together to visualize, to see, and to talk in community. Even the children take this tea. It's a mushroom tea. And it's hallucinogenic, but it allows us to see the past. And what is the past? A similar concept of this, difficult to explain to me in English, it's not my mother tongue, is the indigo children. In the Western culture, the indigo children can recognize their ancestrality. Where are they coming from? On the night of this 20th of June, we will say Kausai, we will say Kausai Punchak. How can I translate this? Welcome to a new spiral of timing. Welcome to a new spiral of timing. This relax your needs to be perfect in this moment. And this relax the way how we assume the past as a burden. In our conception, the present can become the past so easily. You can come back to your past in our conception of timing. And another important concept I received from my grandmothers was the concept of eternity. So apparently our ancestors, the Incas, the pre-Incas, the Waris, Tiahuanacos, Nazca, Chimu, Moche, the many, many cultures that exist before the Incas, has a main pillar of that philosophy. And this pillar is the concept of eternity, the conception of the eternity. Like we are going to be here in this earth eternally. And the facts you do will last eternally. So we try to keep this in our minds to do it with the less damage possible to others and with the maximum benefit for the IU. The IU is the concept of the IU. It's not family, it's bigger than family. It's your tribe, more or less a tribe, but IU has a very important meaning. It's not related with genetics. It's not related just with language. Is, for example, in this room of peace, we are an IU. We share the same conceptions. We try to solve the same issues. We concerned about the same facts, and we do have similar ideas. So for finalize this, let me say to you, Kausai Punchak, Kausai Punchak, Kausai Punchak, for all of you. Let's enter in the new spiral of time where past is part of our present and eternally will be the present. So live in the here and right now. Thank you so much.
Tupananchiskama. Thank you so much, Celine. And Celine mentioned the June 20th and 21st, which is the June 21st is World Peace and Prayer Day, as it was recognized by Chief Arvo Looking Horse and is celebrated or around the world. And so it's interesting that this date is so potent to circle looking at peace at the Holy Land in this case, which you're all invited to. And as time is precious, as Kumu Sabra reminded us, And I know that Anita has limited time with us. I would like to hear from Elder Anita next. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuvasova. Oka. I love seeing you. And Selene, I am in the present. And not I have to call it, I think, a little anxiety coming to talk about time. And the minute you began speaking, my grandmother was sitting here, just be present. She's speaking for you. And so my Nawa grandmother was, because I was circling inside, how do I describe these things that, and I'm a doctor, and I know you too, a doctor, so I am immersed in this notion of time and space in what is mainstream, I guess you want to call it. And yet at the same time, we now are people stuck and can be mistaken because we do have calendar, very different than the Gregorian calendar, very different in that. We do focus on the number of days and years are different than what we are taught. I think one of the things that as my grandmother was teaching me most was about time being present, and that to be a curandera, which she is and came from a long line of that, of being curanderas in central Mexico, was that the way one brings their medicine can only be from the present, but always knowing that the past and the future is right there holding you. So in Nawa language, we talk about teot. And so even to think about time as a separate thing, other than seasons and stuff, it does feel very made up in terms of the way you're rewarded. You're expected to show up on time for the Zoom calls and other things. And yet we do, because we need to practically be present. So I am now, as I said, Aztec, Toltec. During COVID, I found that I was also from the Amazon, percent of the half of me that is indigenous, and I just came from there. So I'm gonna switch and do something a little bit for the last couple of minutes that I have, because I'm so filled with it. There's so much that unites us as indigenous people, and I'm so happy for that, because it allows us to step in and just immediately feel that womb. There is no separation. Teo, the spirit is here, and we're all part of that. And yes, we focus in on places in order to be able to communicate and stuff, but make no mistake, it is always part of this whole life, death, these what some people call polarities. These are just intimately interconnections. And so just coming back from the sacred headwaters of the Amazon, where I lead an annual journey every year, I'm still integrating. What I was very aware of it too, and coming and talk to you about time is that, and so I humbly ask support and forgiveness from my Ashwar relatives and Sapra relatives who I spent the weeks with. And in being there, the whole notion of time as we know it, these Zoom calls, the even the morning and night it was gone. I couldn't tell you what day it was, but I could tell you, oh, now the frogs are stronger now. And I could feel, because they teach us how, like, when the waters, when you're safer to go into waters. I learned from a little boy who's fishing, and in translation asked him, well, how do you know? How do you know when you need to, when it's danger, like the waters? Because now with climate change, the waters are flooding and drought, and it's very different than it was. And he just looked at us so puzzled, and through the translation, he very much answered what Sir Celine said, and my grandmother was like, kind of confused. Well, we watch the frogs, and if they start leaving, we watch the birds, and if we see them going, we go with them. We're part of this. We're not separate. And it's just, everyone just, And this was a whole group of entrepreneurs, very successful entrepreneurs. And it was so wonderful to see the transformation, not only in them, but feeling it happening me. So I am always honored. I'm a messenger of the eaglehood prophecy. I am my ancestors who I honor that allow me to, that brought me here, and their dreams that continue. And learning about my new relatives that I didn't know. I know we're all connected, but now I'm learning in a deeper way. And so what I also want to say is we had a little bit of conversation about urgency, but didn't talk about it in terms of time. Really talked about it in terms of what is in front of us. What are we being called? And Mother Earth is calling so clearly in our ceremonies and our dream time that we'll respond to. So there's an urgency, but do not be fooled that it's in the days and times that we're talking about. And in fact, I'll close with this. Every morning, the Ashwar wake in terms of talking about community, and they get up, it's around 3:30. There's no watches or anything, but they get up and there's hot tea and by families, each of them, and periodically the whole community comes and they drink this tea. And it's got a little bit of what would you call I'm forgetting, like coffee, where you have it's a stimulant a little bit, but it's not nothing hallucinogenic or anything like it. It's just a lot of tea. Young kids drink it, older. So we would be with them, and how they started every morning, or in the dark, listening to all the sounds and being very aware as they change, but as they shared their dreams with each other, and so recognized and so present. It reminded me that time is now. It's made up, but it's about being now. And so, Celine, I think I couldn't do better than you in terms of trying to explain past, present, future. But what I want to say is the acknowledgement of community and our connectedness, because as each person, whether it was a 4-year-old sharing their dream or an elder, one of their wisdom keepers, there was such attention and holding. But as it was happening, I was very much aware of what they call Aruna, which is their spirit, the spirit of all. As in Nawa, we call that Teo. And that it's all one. And so when there was some painful, bad dream, it was held. And basically it's like dream the new dream and have that direct us now into whatever's we're coming from our being to do. And I'll just say, if I sound confusing, I'm going to have to write something about this to try and get it clearer. But what I'm hoping to leave you with the in just a few words of some of what the Ashwar and the spirit of Amazonia and my grandmother is there, and all this that was unfolding was that we are held. It's like in the womb, but it's much bigger than just what we even think of it. The female womb, and I know in this group we talk about that, the earth, the universe, it's all in all time. And so I just honor my ancestors. I honor those who are present. I honor the future ancestors, and I'm delighted that I get to be future ancestor now in the present time. And I welcome all of you and being who you're meant to be in the sacred way with the force that really unites all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elder. This concept of the present being yesterday's tomorrow or tomorrow's yesterday is so beautiful. Thank you. And I know we are kind of running out of time, but it does feel that time is wishing to expand. So those of you who will need to leave soon, there is a recording, and it is live streamed on YouTube. We're going to put that in the chat and in future newsletters, so you're not missing anything. And would like to add Catherine's voice to all of this. So please share with us.
Shoulder. Boy, Anita, what you were saying really evoked a response in me. Of course, no, I want to backtrack. Happy Māori New Year, everybody. That's an advanced announcement. Many Māori nations celebrate, commemorate the time of Matariki. It's colloquially known as our New Year. And it happens when on the horizon, the cluster of stars called Matariki rises, peep, very early in the morning. And that's when we know that cycle of time has completed. And it's a time of reflecting on peace, actually. It's a time of being grateful and thankful for everything, all the blessings, you know, the bounty. And, you know, for us Indigenous peoples, food plays a major part in what we're grateful for. So all those ways that we grow food, harvest food, that features strongly in the celebrations of Matariki. But it's also about, like we've talked about, bringing, you know, the gifts, all the gifts and precious things from the past here, plants it here with us now, and then we can prepare and we can envision where we're heading to in the future. So there's the time there. I also want to say, you know, the obvious indicators of time passing, the sun, the moon. For Māori, the word is ra for sun, and for moon is marama. So you have that ra in both of those celestial bodies. And the beautiful thing is they're always shining light. And we know what light is. It's a transmitter of knowledge. That knowledge we have constant access to. How awesome. It's amazing. Even at night, if it's a dark marama, you still have the light that's emitting from stars, well, billions of years away. Wow, that just blows my mind. You know, the universe's knowledge from across billions of years is connecting with us. It just blows my mind. Another thing, I'm just really quickly breezing through here. Māori, I guess it's a gift that many have, the gift of foresight. We had our, what we call matakite. They're those who had the gift of foresight. There are many examples of prophecy, within our Māori peoples. And so they were looking into the future. That makes you think, wow, you know, we humans have the gift, the capacity to, you know, traverse and move through different time periods, past, present, future. Interestingly, many of our prophecies have to do with our sovereignty. And I'm thinking of one example, the local one. There's many from further down the line, different Māori nations have their own, but there's one, it's something around like Ngāpuhi, one of the iwi of the north here where we live. It talks about this white thread, and it's about, you know, the day this white thread appears, and it's, you know, woven into the tapestry of the now. You know, that's like the time when Ngāpuhi will like fulfill its spiritual potential. Now, the white thread, many interpretations as prophecies do, but the white thread, many believe, has to do with the Western world, you know, the white people, the colonizers, right? So, you know, our prophecies, I think we should pay, you know, attention to them, because it's heralding something in the future that we need to get ready for, to engage in. Everything's about connection. And I mentioned before, our time, you know, our word, Māori word for time is wā. Our Māori word for space is the same word, wā, time, space. And interestingly, again, our word for spirit is wairua, wairua. So the connection with time, space, and the soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, it's all entangled. It's all the same thing. And another beautiful thing, our word for water, which has been mentioned already, is wai. So you have the concept of water in the word spirit, which is connected with time and space. I mean, you know, you could spend a lot of time reflecting on what does that all mean? Well, I think connection is the big theme there. And the last thing I want to leave with is, speaking of connection, the way that we can compress time. And I know you all know what I'm talking about. You've been in those moments, right, where time just seems to fly. And what I've observed is that when I'm on my life path, when I'm on my kaupapa, we call it a kaupapa, it's your mission, right? You get in the flow, you know what I mean? And synchronicities happen, you know? And then developments, things come together quicker. Time just compresses. That concept is big. We can compress time. If time is just moments, just following after one, and change is happening, we can do that. We have the capacity. Wow, divine beings. And the last thing, because time is passing, I'm just going to quickly pull out a card and see what it says for us. I'm going to pull it from the bottom of the deck today. Oh, vision, just what we were talking about. So I think that's a nice reinforcer. And look at that. You've got that depicts time moving, all these different moments and different situations, people, events, and we're looking at it and we're creating it. Actually, as we're living it, we're also creating it at the same time. So I'll just thank you very much. Amazing topic. I'll just say mā te wā, which for us means in time. What time that is, we don't know, and it's all good. So mā te wā.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess ending it with "we don't know" would be like so great and accurate. Let's know some more about what we don't know from Ia.
Thank you for all that. I'm so fascinated with the time, and what came to mind as soon as I heard time was the observation I made when I was as a child and watching my elders and how they measured time, and there were no clocks, and you would wonder how there was no clocks in the sense that they didn't use clocks. They measured everything by the sun, and they measured by the moon, changes in the moon, planting seasons, everything was measured, even to the point of birth. I recall asking my great-grandmother one time, how did they know a birth was coming? Somebody was being born in the family, and they would have to travel miles to come to that birthday. And she explained to me and said, we measure by the moon time. And we know when she's pregnant, when she conceived, we know how to measure that time. So what it brought me back in terms of learning from this, during my life, is that time is not linear, and time is not an accident. And what I understand is that we human beings created time in order to be able to measure the distance that we travel on the earth. And if we look at everything, we look at it in a time capsule. And the other thing that comes from my ancestors, my ancient ancestors, is say we can't know where we're going until we return to where we've been. So we talk about future. They say in the past time, there's a need for the future, because we cannot know where we're going until we have lived that life. And so we human beings try to jump ahead and think, and we complain about what happens to us without understanding that there's a choice being made here. So my ancestor spirit is a thought that we all choose to be here at this time, in this space and time. We chose. So the question comes, why would I choose to be here in this time? So it gives me a place to operate, because the next thing I ask myself, well, what offering will I bring for this time? And that also comes out of the African cosmology and the African teaching, is that when we look at why, that there are no accidents, that time is, we human species create time so we can measure the distance that we travel on this earth. And we can calculate our own experiences and what we call our history. But what we do, we say, oh, how bad it is, as opposed to saying, well, how were we part of that creation of how bad it is? So it's like this twofold process that we forget to look at the intentionality, even in how we use time. Because I love it when people say, I'm busy, busy, busy. And if you stop and ask yourself, what am I busy doing? Where am I going? What am I busy running to? So time is something that, if we could just like think that we created this whole aspect of time, we the human species. And I think that's one of the reasons that they had timekeepers and earth keepers, because people would measure the distance that they traveled. They would measure the context of time. And we say, now time is sped up. Is time sped up? Of course it's sped up, because something shifted in the cosmic realm of life. And so now we have a way that we speed it up, because now I'm talking to you on this computer. I'm talking to you on the internet. I'm talking to you on the phone. That's speed up time. That's time travel. So we are doing time travel without even naming that we're doing time travel, because I think we have some kind of confusion about what time travel is, and don't realize that we are time travelers. We are time travelers. But what is the big question? How do we measure this time? How do we capitalize on this time? And how do we ask the right questions about where we are in this time? How are we being informed about what we need to transmute in life, beginning with ourselves? Because we carry the memory of all of those ancestors, those ancestor spirit. We carry that memory, and some would even fancy to say that we are the ancestors live and breathe through us. So it's a lot to contend with when we start to talk about time and what is time. And for me, as I go back in time, it allows me, instead of looking at those things, since we talk about womb healing, it allows me to go back through those different stages of inner womb healing. And I may not call it womb healing. For example, I just went through a womb, what I would call womb healing. I went through my 14th year birthday, my 14 years on the earth. And what I found was this really wounded spirit, carrying the woundedness of that time it had lived as a 14-year-old, because I kept getting grief. And what is that grief telling me? What was happening in that time? And so to me, when I visit that time, it allows me to integrate. It allows me to weave out and take out things, kind of like the farmer. You know, when at the end of the year you harvest and you take out the best seed and you put it away, and when you put it in the earth, even when you put it back into the earth, you're using time. So I see that time that we utilize, when we can own time and own it in the way that we human species create time in order to measure the distance that we travel on there. And, you know, that's what time, how time informs me. It informs me to look at what happens, how separation takes place, because there are time capsule things happening all the time. And when we revisit those places, it allows us to measure that distance of time, and also to carve a new pathway for ourselves. And to me, that ties into me understanding how the prophecy also speaking within that time. So there's a lot to be said about this whole aspect of time. And I'm sure each one of us on this platform will have an experience in how we measure and deal with time as opposed, and then we allow time, like the whole idea to say, I don't have enough time, that means we giving time power over ourselves. We created it, and then we said we don't have enough time because we created the time in the first place. So time doesn't run out. It measures the distance that we travel on the planet, and we create that ourselves. So thank you for listening, and I hope that helps to bring more light to time travelers. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder Ia. As I'm listening to you, what comes to me is, what is the gift of this time for each of us? And what is my gift, or each of you? What is the gift that you carry for this time? And what is it time for? You know, it's time for, what is it time for? And as we are sitting all together at this one time, we have very different time zones. It's different times here for nearly all of us. And how interesting is it that we share one time, yet is it the same time? And with that, I'm gonna go to you, Diana, to give us your thoughts on this or other things that have come up, will come up.
Thank you, Yael. Thank you for everyone who spoke so far. It's such a potent and rich construct. It's really funny because we all acknowledge it is a construct. It's not something natural, and yet it's fascinating to delve into it. So where I want to start delving into it is through the Hebrew language, and how the Hebrew language has roots. It's a root language. So from one root, you can build on in different directions concepts that are connected to it. So time in Hebrew is Zman. But then you start branching out. So Zman is time. Zimun is summons. You're summoned somewhere at a certain time. Zimun is also, I happen to be there at the same time. So if I would try to make a word out of it in English, I timed myself there. I happen to be there. I timed myself there. Hizdamnut, so Zman, Hizdamnut. Hizdamnut is opportunity. So opportunity also has to do with being at a certain time, at a certain place. So opportunity. Hazmana, Zman, Hazmana. Hazmana is an invitation. You're also invited to be meeting somewhere at the same time. So opportunity and invitation and happening upon something and summoning all have to do with time. And when I think about it, I'm struck by the fact that all of them are about getting together and connecting with another person, while we became so consumed with the 3 o'clock or the 5 o'clock. But it's really about, I want to meet you then. I want to be with you at 3 o'clock. And what came to be important in our culture is the calling of the hour rather than the connection that it came to facilitate. So it's a fascinating notion. I wanted to talk about a couple of other things, which is when I was pregnant, I was delving into the Mayan calendars. The Mayan culture has many calendars, and the main unit, which is parallel to a year, a solar year, is called the kin, and the kin is 260 days. And what's 260 days? It's the length of human pregnancy. So the pulse of us all is a 9-moon pulse, the pulse of having been in the womb. So when my daughter was born, she was 5 months old, 6 months old, 7 months old, and I was kept being struck by the fact that she's still not been out in the world as long as she's been in the womb. So we have had her blessing of welcoming her into the world on her 9th moon birthday. It was the first pulse, the first pregnancy outside of the womb. And if you think about it, those 9 moons are etched as a time pulse in all of our psyches, because this is the first pulse that we have experienced, first as one being with our mother, and then as coming out of there. That's a pulse. So it struck me then that I can calculate how many moon times, how many 9-month cycles, how many womb pulses old I am. So what I did is I did it in the past and I did it today as well. I took my age in years and I multiplied it by 12. So how many months old since birth? How many months have passed since I was born? And then I divided that by 9. So that's how many cycles of 9-month pulse I have lived. So I'm 88, which takes the whole meaning out of this number of age and what we attribute to age and what we think of age to a different level, because I love being 88. I love being 88 womb cycles old. So I invite you to calculate in your own good time how many womb cycles old you are. So you take your age in years, you'll multiply it by 12, so you know how many months you've been on Earth, and you divide it by 9, so you can get how many 9-cycle moon times, pulses have you been living. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. What an interesting concept. It reminds me that my 2 girls, one day came to me and they said, we started at the same time. And I'm like, no, you're 3 years apart. And they said, no, but the eggs that we are started at the same time in your little womb when you were a fetus in your mama's womb. So we started at the same time. And I was like, so now you're bringing another, like, this concept of womb and time and how different it invites us to play with this concept of time. I'm really grateful for. And now we are going to have some nourishment from our listeners who've been listening thus far and giving us this space of beautiful, brave space that the elders were able to open up and share everything that they have. We wouldn't have been able to enjoy that without this way of listening. And so now it's time for you to share your words and your gifts for this time. And if you feel gifted and you want to nourish back in the earthly way also, then Michelle is going to put the link for donations. It's not required, but it is, of course, very welcomed, because we are always nourishing our wisdom keepers also in the earthly sense. And if you can help us do that, we are going to be grateful and waiting for your sharing. A few moments of silence and breathing, and then Elder, sorry, I'm lost. If we have Sabra, then she will do the closing prayer, and if we lose her, then Catherine, maybe you can do it. I'm not sure who Sabra is with us. So I'll be quiet now.
I just want to say that we have some comments of ages. Suzanne is 106, Cecilia is 83, Sigurd is 101, and Jackie is 103. So just wanted to draw our attention to that.
Aloha mai kako. I am still with you. I think even though it looks like you're from. Okay. Oh my goodness. Aloha mai kako. Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are. You are,
Oh,
Kumusebra. Can we
this-
give one more minute for our audience, and then you can take us into the prayer?
yes, of course.
Thank you, Mama.
It'd be all right to share now?
We are running out of time, speaking of time, so it would be good if you can share in the chat box, and we need to close the circle. And then afterwards, I can stay with you, and if you want to share verbally. But for this, yeah, for everyone's time, we need to have just silent readings, and then close the officially, and then we can part with those who need to part and stay with those who may want to verbally share. Kumusebra, can you please close the circle for us with your beautiful blessing?
I am so honored to do so. I have enjoyed this. This just, it's more than a discussion, this worldwide unity. We are coming from all parts of the world, and we are sharing with aloha. I am always so thrilled to hear from each and every one of you, and I'm so shocked that I have internet coverage here in the most remote part of our islands. I have one bar, and I have had enough battery to last this whole time. I'm delighted. It's been a wonderful to share with all of you. I close with this chant that speaks of asking long life for each and every one of you, and for all of your descendants and your friends. From Hawaii, aloha. O ka ula e ke akua, e nana mai ka o mau pula pula, e ola a kaniko, a hau maka I ole, a palalau hala, a kawika pua ane ane, a laila lave aku oia ui ke alo, pa ke a e, aloha e, aloha e. Aloha e. Aloha, everyone.
Aloha, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for co-creating this. And see you on the 21st if you can make it. It's not going to be this time of day. It's going to be much later, I guess. You will see it all in the newsletter, and yeah.
Michelle might want to put the link to register for the solstice if you have it handy. You can put it in the chat.
I don't
Good
have
idea.
that. Do you have that on hand?
I will find it.
Okay, we'll send it out.
And if anyone wants to unmute and speak, we will stop the recording in the YouTube. Michelle, can you stop the recording in the YouTube live? And then people can